Good morning, it's Jane with Scraptastic Yarns, and it's a great day today, isn't it? Great day to be alive. Alright guys, last week after I'd filmed and everything, that afternoon I got a box on my doorstep, and it was some Happy Mail from Loretta with Homemade with Love by Loretta and Blaine. So I'm going to insert that video here. So we hear the post guy at the door and opened it up, and I got a lovely surprise. I got a nice little gift package from Loretta with Homemade with Love by Loretta and Blaine, and it has some lovely little gifts in it. And I'll read to you what it says, but a pretty package. And on the inside it says it has all these lovely treats: cream brulee drizzled popcorn, iced lemon shortbread cookies, and brownie crisp with pecans. And that was in this bag, like I said. But alongside the bag with the goodies, she's got several different of these little cups of the flavored coffees, like peppermint bark, and I like the peppermint bark I had earlier. Pecan pie, that should be interesting. And that's another peppermint bark. This one is sugar cookie. And yeah, I like the sugar cookie that I had. And that's another pecan pie. And another sugared cookie. And then this one, when I had mentioned about coffees or something like that, she had said she was having a vanilla buttercream. And I was like, what? Sounds delicious. So I've got a vanilla. See if we can get that glare off of it. It's not going to come off. But it's a vanilla buttercream, so I get to try it. There's a couple more down in here. I haven't pulled them all out because I was rather surprised. What a pleasant surprise. Thank you. You're still going down. I'm still going to beat you on this this war. This little yardage war we have going on, competition. There are 2 of the vanilla buttercream, so I'm looking forward to trying those. But I was like, oh my goodness. And the bag is just a felt bag with these beautiful cutouts on it, but it is gorgeous. And of course everything is packaged up in lovely Christmas things. There are 2 smaller boxes in there. So Loretta, thank you. This was a very pleasant surprise. Very pleasant surprise. Now, I'm sure that the husband will be eating the iced lemon shortbread. He's a big fan of lemon and shortbreads, but I'll get at least 1 cookie as a taste test. So thank you, Loretta. And just wanted to share this with you. I'm going to add it on into a clip for another video later this week. So I hope you enjoyed this little snippet of my surprise. All right, everybody, have a great day. Bye. And I have been enjoying the coffee. Like I said, my husband could not eat the popcorn. It was creme brulee, and it was delicious. It was like having creme brulee. And the little brownie bites with the pecans were good. My husband has been enjoying the shortbread lemon cookies. They are a little sweet for him, so he just does a little bit, add a little, a cookie here or there. Because too much sugar can cause a lot of problems with someone who has a colostomy bag. So he has a little bit here and there. I do have a couple of finished items, and this is one of those. This is a blanket Well, it's actually more of a lap robe, you know, to go across someone's lap. And this is done, this section here is V-stitch, and then around the outside is simply double crochet. This yarn here is the Aran that I got for 64 cents. And then the green is part of the Mega Ball, and it is a light worsted. So since it is a light worsted, I did hold 2 strands of that together to make this blanket. And, well, this little lap robe. So there is that. And then with those 2 Caron cakes that I had, I did the Modern Granny. And this, of course, is also a lap robe. And I really enjoyed working with this yarn. You know, I like yarns where I don't have to worry about color changes, fixing them up, those kind of things. And here is where I had ended, and I had a piece of yarn this long. So, yeah. And as you know, Loretta and I are doing a challenge between now and the 14th of February. It is our Blessings Challenge. And so far, I've got a couple of wrappers. Now, I will tell you that some of these other projects that I'm working on are done with probably half a skein. And what I did there is I did not add a full skein until I had used 2 to make up a full skein, because I know I have a lot of half skeins in my, you know, in my pile, in my stash, my yarn stash. So that's the way that I'm doing it, because I do have a lot of yarns that don't have labels because I probably didn't keep the labels. They fell off, and I thought, why? What do I need the labels for? So a lot of the things that I am doing is, like I said, I have 2 scrap balls that are about, and they do weigh 4 ounces. So I am counting that as a full skein. So I use the 1 wrapper from one of those, and then if there is a wrapper with the other, which most of the time there's not, I just toss it. So, yeah, that's kind of where that's going. And this is that color block wrap. I am ready to, because I do not have enough to do another row, I'm ready to add on a new color. And I don't know what I'm going to do for adding on the next color, because I just haven't reached into the bag yet. What I'm trying to do is I have 2 big bags. You know those AC Moore bags that hold tons of stuff? I have 2 of those that are full of like half skeins or a quarter skein, you know, just scraps. But most of them are half a skein of scraps. And so I'm just grabbing in there and getting one. I may just do that, close my eyes and reach. Now, I did start another blanket. And this blanket it's a really easy, basic blanket. And I'm just using scraps out of that scrap bag, because I'm trying to get rid of the scraps, okay? That's what I'm trying to do. So, basically what it is you'll start with a chain of however long you want. You make it an uneven number. Real easy, simple. And then I did a half double crochet in each chain across. The pattern actually calls for a single crochet, but yeah, nah. Just the way I roll, guys. I like the half double crochet. And then the next row is a cross stitch, as you can see. And then the next row is the half double or single crochet, whatever you're doing. And then you do the cross stitch again, and that's all this is to this pattern. It's a very nice blanket, has quite a bit of texture with just those two different stitches, and I'm really enjoying it a lot. Like I said, I'm reaching in, grabbing a ball, and that's how we're rolling with that. Now, Runaway Red Needle. I'll put it down below in the links below. She is doing a challenge called the Ugly Hat, I think it's Ugly Hat February Challenge, using the hashtag Ugly Hat. I'll put that in here somewhere. But, so I'm creating an ugly hat. And this again is using those little small balls of scraps. You know, the next ball's in here. And I'll work a couple of rows, and then I'll go over and out of that one little tin where I've got just a few pieces of scraps, or maybe the baggie that I had that had scraps, I'll choose another color, add that in to make this hat. That's kind of fun, you know. Now that I have not done any more on this Inside Out sweater that I had started, and I've decided I'm going to rip this out, and I'll tell you why. I'm a big girl, and I think ribbing brings everything to attention to some of the best or worst features that you have, and most of my big girlness is in my belly. So I've decided, at my hips, so I've just, well, what can I say? I'm a big girl. I'm a big girl everywhere. So I've decided I don't want the ribbing on the bottom. I think I'm just going to start with the panel, work my favorite stitch, you know, and just do that. Starting up for the length that I need for the panels. I think I'm going to make it a plain Jane. Plain Jane. So I'm going to rip that out and start over with that. And that is it for the crochet knitting portion. I do have quite a few other projects I've found that I need to work on, but I'm going to concentrate on these to get these done. I want to get those bags of scraps out of the way. I'm hoping to get those out of the way by February, at least by the end of February, so that I can just start concentrating on using whole cakes, whole skeins, those kind of things, and creating a new bag of scraps. After all, this is Scraptastic Yarns, and we love some scraps. Okay, that's it for this portion. Now I am going to have a little bit of a politics inserted here. A lot of people are very disappointed in the election, mostly disappointed in the way that the states have run their elections and have ignored a lot of the problems associated with their elections. A lot of things were done against state's constitution, you know, like here in Pennsylvania, Secretary of State and the governor decided to make the changes instead of going through Congress, you know, our state Congress, and making them that way, which that's the way it should be done. And they're all using the excuse of pandemic. Pandemic, scamdemic. Pandemic should be in no way changed in the way that you hold your elections. And of course, here in Pennsylvania, there were 125% of the vote that was counted. For those of you that understand that there is no way in hell there could be 125% vote tally, understand the problem with the election in this state. Those of you that don't or are thrilled with the results, many blessings to you. As this new president takes his oath tomorrow, I will, as always, pray for the leaders. I don't like Biden. I don't like Kamala. But I will pray for them as leaders of our nation. And they will be my president and my vice president. You won't find resistance in that here. You won't find violence from me. And you won't find that I actually encourage violence. And if those of you who have watched mainstream media, you have seen some violent video. But what you failed to see is there was a lot of non-violence that was done. There were a few that got rowdy, and yes, they should be arrested and charged. But with sedition, I don't know about that. Why? I'll tell you why. Code Pink has entered the Congress chambers, both House and Senate, many times. And you wouldn't call them seditious, would you? And despite AOC's claim, you almost didn't die, darling. There were a few that were spouting this and that. And what has come to be found is a lot of those are people who were there to start trouble. They are not true Trump supporters. Many of them were wearing Trump items to pose as Trump supporters. And that's fine and dandy. We know they exist. We know it happens. It happens along with Biden and Kamala. So, but this ramping up of military in D.C., gotta give it to the Democrats. You know how to gin up fear. But the one thing that I find horrendous, January the 7th, we had friends who were in the military, post-military. They were called back up because they were active duty. They were called back up to go into D.C. And a lot of them have filed complaints. And the complaint being, the first thing that they were asked when they entered D.C. is, do you believe that Joe Biden was the duly elected next president? They have no problem with that. No problem whatsoever. But then they started asking who they voted for, who they supported. And that, quite frankly, horrifies me. And I'll tell you why. Because when the military take their oath, they take their oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. That is the primary part of their oath. And to defend this nation, regardless of what their party affiliation is. Now, one of our friends is a leader of a squadron. He was at the rally on the 6th, but he did not partake of the Capitol surge, siege, whatever you want to call it. However, he was removed from his command, and a stranger to his squadron replaced him. This is not someone who was within their command or someone in their party, their squadron, that knows these men and women. And any of you who have been in the military know, when squadrons, people work together as a team, they have to have cohesiveness. They also have to have trust in who their commander is. When you are given someone you do not know, your trust is already broken. And you've lost a bit of your teamwork because you now have something that is off. We have seen a lot of the left and the media encouraging deprogramming, education camps, taking away children for those of us that supported Trump. And that is what scares me. That is the regime that has been put in place. And you do not see the current president-elect telling these people to stand down and to stop it. So, we don't know what's going to come, but I hope it's all for good. And I hope it benefits those of us that live in the United States, and that the United States continues to be a bright beacon for those who want freedom, although our freedom is being squelched at every turn. So that's my political rant. Are you ready for some what in tarnation? All right, guys. I probably lost about 1,000 followers, but you know, hey, whatever. What in tarnation? Deer rescued with head stuck in bird feeder. A mule deer in Pine, Colorado, was rescued by park rangers after getting its head jammed into a 10-pound plastic bird feeder. Colorado Parks and Wildlife Officer Joe Nicholson pried the plastic tub off the deer's neck after temporarily subduing it onto the ground on Saturday. Wildlife, especially deer, elk, and moose, are often foraging for food in winter months. Colorado Parks and Wildlife urges everyone to take down volleyball nets, hammocks, hanging lights, and other items that deer, especially the bucks, can get tangled in, the agency said. Every year, CPW gets reports of deer and elk that have died after becoming stuck in fences or in items that prevent them from eating. Wildlife Officer Joe Nicholson was able to remove this 10-pound plastic bird feeder on the neck of this mule deer near Pine on Saturday. And there is a link to the story. Tower of London raven, presumed dead after multi-week absence. The Tower of London said one of its ravens is feared dead, bringing it closer to a legend that would indicate the fall of the kingdom. In a Twitter post, the Tower of London said the raven named Merlina, known as the Queen of the Tower Ravens, has not been seen there for several weeks. Her continued absence indicates to us that she may have sadly passed away, the tower said. Though it isn't unusual for our ravens to roam outside the walls, free-spirited Merlina has previously always returned to the tower and to the Raven Master and his team, with whom she shared a wonderfully close bond. A legend about the Tower of London dating to Charles II states that if the tower has fewer than 6 ravens, the kingdom will be doomed. Raven Master Christopher Skife said 7 ravens remain at the tower as well as a spare bird. We don't have any immediate plans to fill Merlina's vacancy. However, in time, we hope that a new chick from our breeding program will be up to the formidable challenge of continuing her legacy. Now, I had no clue that there was that legend about the Tower of London. So I find that rather interesting. And who knew they had a Raven Master? Okay. Florida wildlife officials rescue 6 trapped manatees. 6 trapped manatees were rescued at Pine Island Conservation Area in Florida by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. The FWC Fish and Wildlife Research Institute posted photos of the rescue on Facebook Thursday and noted that the manatees likely got into the refuge system by swimming over a concrete wire during a high water event that later didn't allow them to swim out. 5 of the 6 manatees were rescued first, with 4 of them released back into the wild following a health assessment. The 5th manatee is being rehabilitated at Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens. The 6th manatee was rescued the next day and also taken to Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens to be rehabilitated. A manatee previously spotted with a bicycle tire wrapped around its body appeared more than a year later with the tire gone, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission reported in December. This made me think of Barb, the gal that lives on the boat, and all of her work with the manatee rescue. So I'm glad to see that manatees were rescued. Florida animal rescuers free bobcat stuck in birdhouse. It's a cat. Wildlife rescuers were summoned to a Florida home where a bobcat attempted to chase a squirrel into a birdhouse and became stuck. The Clinic for the Rehabilitation of Wildlife said personnel responded to a Fort Myers home Tuesday after a homeowner called to report a bobcat was stuck in a birdhouse on their property. Veterinarians sedated the bobcat so the birdhouse could be disassembled to free the bobcat and the squirrel, which was released uninjured. The bobcat was given a checkup by veterinarians and found to be uninjured and in good health. It was released on a nearby wildlife preserve. And there's a link to photos. Now this next story, I'm sure the reason it was left down there is because the temperatures were actually great for it, but I find it rather interesting. Beer cave from 1800s found under St. Louis. A cave used for storing beer in the early 1800s had been rediscovered underneath a community garden in St. Louis. The McHose and English Cave Recovery Team said the beer cave was located in the Benton Park neighborhood in spring 2020, and the team used a pair of holes to get cameras into the underground cavern. We lowered a LiDAR unit down here to map out the cave, and here is the approximate route of the cave. The cave, it's like 30 feet wide with a ceiling of 7 by 15 feet tall. Bill Kranz, project facilitator for the McHose and English Cave Recovery, told KTVI TV. We're all out here in the alley jumping around like crazy. Kranz said the cave dates to the early 1800s. It started out for storing ale, Kranz said. He said the cave was also home to a mushroom farm, a wine grotto, and a community gathering space. The discovery was hailed by St. Louis Alderman Dan Gunther. This was the brewery epicenter of the city of St. Louis because of all the caves, Gunther said. It really gives us an opportunity to reconnect with that past and hopefully step foot in a garden that hasn't been opened in over 100 years. And I find that totally amazing. Now, there has been a story for many years that I have always found fascinating. And it was about Lizzie Borden, and I always wondered why she killed her parents. What exactly caused that? I'm going to ignore the phone. It'll end soon. It'll pick up on the answering. Massachusetts Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum. The site of an infamous 1892 double murder is being listed for sale with an asking price of $2 million. The Fall River House, which operates as bed and breakfast with 6 bedrooms, as well as a museum with guided tours, is currently being listed online for $2 million. The house is at the site of the August 4th, 1892, hatchet murders of Andrew and Abby Borden. Andrew Borden's daughter Lizzie was put on trial for the murders, but was acquitted. The case remains unsolved. The listing states the current owner is selling due to her retirement. The sale indicates the business, trademarks, and intellectual rights. Susan St. John, a real estate agent from Century 21 Seaboth, said thus far interested buyers have indicated they will keep the property operating as a bed and breakfast. It is an incredible moneymaker, St. John told WJR-TV. It's one of the top tourist attractions in New England. Most lucrative are the tours, and then the bed and breakfast, of course, which is the destination point for lots of travelers. There is a YouTube video that goes along with this, and I have never heard the story that actually Lizzie and her parents haunt the premises. So I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, everybody, have a great week. I will see you again soon. Be blessed. Be kind to one another. Pray for one another. And let's love one another. All right, see you again soon. Bye.